So let's take you golf fans to the beach for some sand play with Derek. So what we want to understand in the bunker is the concept first, how the club head interacts with the sand and how the ball is splashed out of it. So first thing first, a wedge has a lot of loft, so you want to play with a lot of loft, between 48 to 64, depending on the type of shot, and sometimes the type of sand also. So Derek has 58-degree wedge, so that's a lot of loft, and we'll create even more through his setup position. So what we want Derek to do, we want him to rotate the spoon at the bottom, we call, to add loft. We want the grooves pointing up towards the sky. So that's number one. Second, and the crucial part, is understanding how the club head enters the sand, exits, and sends the ball out. So we need two things. We need a lot of speed. We'll talk about how we generate the speed. And the second thing is, since we don't want to hit a home run and that the green is usually close to where the bunker is, we want to understand that there is absolutely no contact between the club head and the ball itself. So we need to control low point. Low point is going to be about a couple inches behind the ball. That's where the club enters. The actual low point is going to be under the ball, and we want the club head to exit on the other side. So what we want to focus on that entry point. Usually the ball is going to be played a little more forward than center. So what Derek's going to do is going to take his usual stance for bunker play. He's going to add loft at the bottom. He's really wide. Why? Because he wants to stay stable so he can control where the club enters the sand. There's two ways really to set up to the ball with their feet. Whether he wants his weight to be on his lead side or more neutral, ball position is going to differ ever so slightly. So if he stays more even, the ball is going to be slightly forward of center. And if he favored his lead side more, then the ball would be found probably about heel side. So Derek's going to go with his own technique. So pressure is a little more towards his lead leg. He's going to lower the handle towards the ground, and what that does, and most people don't see it that way, is once you lower the handle, you're actually adding loft, and you're also hinging to create angle, one way to generate speed at the bottom. So once he's in the setup position, the important factor in executing is that the upper body is going to be the speed generator, torso that rotates, hands and arms that thump the sand. So Derek's focus from then on is going to be thumping the sand, looking at it about a couple inches behind it. Well done. So obviously we're on synthetic turf, so you heard the ground first. Obviously in sand it would be sand. The club would glide under the ball. The club would exit out because we set it up the right way, and then the ball would be splashed out. In a lob shot, a lot of similarities. However, the ball would be laying on the ground, on grass, and we need to assess that ground first. We need to evaluate risk whenever we want to hit a lob shot. If you have two other options, meaning hitting it lower and run it, well, pick that option because this is a risky shot. The only one that kind of always uses the lob shot is Phil Mickelson, and he's got a pretty high percentage rate. So what we want to do is do the same thing. He's going to have a wide base of support. His weight, or pressure rather, is going to be slightly more forward. He's going to add loft at the bottom. However, now his focus is switched up to closer to the ball, and his intensity is going to plummet. Beautiful. So that's one way to stick it close to the pin whenever you're not hitting the greens from a long distance. So short game shots are creative, but there's also technique involved. So adding loft, lowering the handle, understanding the different concepts, and evaluating the situations are keys to hitting good lob shots in sand play.
Stick to your game.